Now we're going to talk about Avengers, Marvel's Avengers, which is a game that came out um, by Square Enix, published by Square Enix, and developed by Crystal Dynamics. Leigh, Derrick, you guys have been playing this one a lot more than I have. In fact, I haven't played it at all. So, Leigh, why don't you give us a rundown of what this Avengers game is and what you think about it?
Avengers. It's a uh, mostly story focused, and then moving into very multiplayer based, kind of 2 to 4 players, I believe, game. Very much, if you're familiar with the movie version of the Civil War story, I'm very much adjacent to that. Avengers are what you expect them to be. Then something tragic happens, and the Avengers become outlawed to some extent. Superheroes become clamped down on, and this is a game very much based about getting the band back together.
Okay, the
Getting
illegal
everybody's
band.
yeah,
Yeah,
indeed.
they're a punk
Getting them
band.
back together. So there's a young character who gains powers through an anomaly called Kamala Khan,
Mm-hmm.
who kind of she's a very, very big fan of the Avengers and superheroes. She tries to get them all back together with her enthusiasm, gets past the idea of grudges and kind of legislations and stuff, and just because her enthusiasm brings them back together,
Right.
everything's fine. Everybody punches something.
Yeah.
It's great. That's the Avengers in a nutshell. It's set up as a pure story mode, and then about halfway through the story mode, it would split, and then the multiplayer option opens up, and the live service side of it opens up, and you get to kind of take those maps as additional missions, or you can continue on with the story mode. But it's kind of all done within a hub world, very much Destiny-like hub world,
Mm-hmm.
like a helicarrier type thing. Yep, there's your Avengers in a nutshell. Um,
Yeah. So,
oh,
I guess my surprise was because, like, leading up to this, it had been definitely billed as a live service game, like your Destiny, like your Division. Uh, but I think my surprise was how much story content there was in it and how well it was done. Like in terms of cinematics and performances and stuff like that. With Kamala Khan, the who's Miss Marvel, right? That's who.
yeah, yeah.
Her featured as a central character. I don't was any of that like presented in any of the pre-release stuff. I don't remember any of that.
About halfway through, they introduced that.
Yeah.
Originally, it was just based on this is the Avengers, guys, and then like we found out that she was going to be probably the main character, which she is. She is the main character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I was
Yeah,
just surprised with how, like, when I watched Derek play, how much like they emphasis they put on the story. Do you guys think the story's good? Like, do you think it's a decent Avengers story as far as those stories go?
Yeah, I've been
it's
enjoying it for what it is.
decent enough. Yeah, it's solid enough.
Like,
As it, yeah,
yeah, it's not bad.
no,
Um, it's not mind blowing, but it's definitely a very solid foundation and is presented very well.
Mm-hmm.
mm. I mean, as a story, it's fine. The characters within the story, I'm not so. That's getting into weird comic book stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
don't agree with the characterizations of a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tony is just there is obviously he's not as kind of the Tony Stark from the comic books is very different from the Tony Stark in the movie. It's not as sardonic, like, that's very much a Robert Downey Jr. thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of they double down on that, and that's all that is in this. And
Yeah.
Tony Stark in this comes across as quite obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
There's something I don't know. I think that might be a problem to do with casting or direction of actors more than it is writing, because they do make some very odd choices. Like when you see Bruce Banner, he's so awkward and downplayed and mumbly in this. He comes across as a bit creepy in a weird way. I don't know if Derek felt that.
Yeah.
where he just kind of slides up to kind of Kamala Khan and just whispers at her a little bit and looks at his feet. I feel a little bit like stranger danger. It's very strange. I don't like it at all. But they all seem a bit off. None of the characters seem very likable, apart from maybe Kamala Khan herself and Thor. They all seem a little bit off their characterizations.
Yeah. See,
Derek felt that.
and I thought I was gonna hate Kamala Khan, but she's been one of the ones that I've enjoyed the most, like playing and the way she's presented. Like they've kind of kept it really true to her character, even when she's there, you know, working with the Avengers. Once you're getting everybody back together, she's still the super fan.
Yeah.
And they've balanced that
Yeah.
between the Avengers kind of helping molding her as a superpowered individual now. I think they've done a pretty good job with that. But like Leigh was saying, the interactions between like the actual Avengers, they can be kind of like awkward or weird or like.
Yeah, do you feel it's like a symptom of, you know, the Marvel movies, the cinematic movies being so popular, and that's what people are expecting, but then obviously they didn't get those actors to play these characters, so it's like expensive. This. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think it's like a problem of them trying to like come up with their own thing, but also feeling like they need to be a little bit too similar to what people are used to seeing on the big screen?
Yeah.
I originally thought that, but then I thought I was being cynical, and then I've seen what they've done with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which they've retooled and remastered to make it look a lot more like the young version in the. So I think that might be a Marvel mandate, you know, because there's no reason for them to do that, and they've done that with this, and they got a lot of flack for it. It's not that we wanted them to be like the Marvel characters,
yeah,
like the movie characters. It's like I can see what you're doing. You're leaning into it without paying for it, and it becomes across as cynical, if that makes sense. It is kind of. They do it with the comics as well. Everything now is aimed towards making the movies popular because they're the most profitable things at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't. The whole Spider-Man making him look like Tom Holland is weird.
Yeah, that made no sense at all because it's not even gonna fit like his character in the game. Like,
and it's only for the PlayStation 5 version. Like it's not.
The problem is they said they couldn't transfer the face model for the new thing. That was the statement they made. They couldn't, but the face model for Dr. Octopus is still exactly the same. So that's bullshit. Don't tell me you couldn't do that. But anyway,
no, I didn't read their statement on it. I just was like,
yeah, it wasn't good.
I mean, it's just they're like, hey, this is the reason why you should get that Ultimate Edition of Miles Morales is because. Look at it, it's the Spider-Man you know and love. But then nobody actually knows and loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I feel like that's probably what ended up happening with a lot of those characters, that they felt like they couldn't be too similar to the movie characters, but also that's the characterization people are used to.
Yeah.
And I just felt like so it was Nolan North is Tony Stark, right?
Yeah, Nolan North is Nolan North.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that bit I saw Derek play was like, oh, he's just playing Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
It's like literally the tone of the voice, the sound of the voice, the quips and the Starky comments and stuff like that was that. And I was like, really? He didn't come up with any other character for that?
That's the problem with the writing. There's a few bits where you see them when they're trying to get the band back together, there's a bit of pathos in him. But mostly he just talks in quips. There's nothing else apart from quips. The writing kind of doesn't give him anything else to do apart from just sass people.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he's talking in kind of snide asides all the time. And it's like Thor. Thor doesn't talk any differently than what you expect Thor to talk like. There's no other layer to him.
Yeah.
So, but that's the writing anyway. That's the least of the game's problems.
Yeah. So let's talk about how the game actually plays. Um, who wants to delve into that?
I guess, how do we want to break it up? Because we want to break like how it came out at launch versus now. Because I don't know how you feel, Lee, but I think one of the things they've kind of done pretty good is how on top of trying to fix and getting updates out they have for the game.
Well, that's probably, yeah, that's good, but it still means that we all bought a game that needed over 1,000 patches.
Yeah, that is true.
That's still not good. You can fix it all you like, but this is what you deliver. This is your opening gambit.
Yeah. So
But
what's the gameplay? What do you do? How do you I'm like choose a mission, and then what do I actually do in that mission? What is the
There's very much two sides to this. So this is my problem with the game, where it feels like a kind of a round kind of single player story based hull and a square live service peg. Where when you're playing the story mode, it's very set piece based. And the beauty of a set piece based game, when it's self contained, is it makes you feel like a superhero. So you get to do all the spectacular things that move into cutscenes within the gameplay and stuff like that. And it makes you feel like a badass. That's great. So it's got a lot of that combo sort of stuff, and it makes you feel cool, and it's really tightly kind of choreographed and stuff like that, and well paced. And then you get to the live service type thing, which is separate, and they kind of plonk you into a map that's massive, but without much in. And it gives you sort of bland access for every type of character to traverse a landscape to get to a pocket of people that you fight before you get to an end thing. And the live service levels are incredibly boring and dull, and they feel like they're tacked on. It's like, I don't know if Derek found. How do you feel about those actually going into those levels, Derek? Because I found it really bland.
I haven't got into the super massive one yet, but I did do some like co-op with my brother to test out to see like how like connectivity and stuff was. But yeah, some of the places like they open it wide, but there's not enough, so like they might stick some chest around, or some like really small event, like if you're in the city, it's like kind of like save these people from these vans, get them out. But it's far between. Like the game shines when it's doing its single player story. But then, like you said, as soon as it gets to that live service, like open worldish part of it, it just kind of like starts to fall back, and then you start seeing like the issues with it.
Well, there's that thing where you, like I say, you were in the city, and they plunk you into a city, and it's really badly designed, because when you're in the city as a story mode thing, it paces it nicely. You get around it, and you feel cool. When it's a live service thing, and they because they repeat these things, you'll go to the city more than once to get these levels in the live service section. And there's this really horrible design where they just throw floating platforms that don't really go anywhere for no real reason within and it just feels really jarring and kind of badly thought out. And it's like, well, there's probably going to be a thing up there, so I'll just follow that path up there. Oh, look, there's a thing. I'll just climb that for nothing. Great. I don't know. It's just, and they repeat these. The end games are terrible to these things, if you pardon the pun. There'll be like there's different things. Defend the kind of the computers or something. So you go into a big room with 3 or 4 different panels of computers, and you have to stand on it to activate. And then you have to go and activate the other one and hope that a load of people that don't reactivate the previous one. And so you've got to go back and forth, do that stupid thing of just standing on the thing and defending it for a second.
Yeah, the Avengers.
Just go round in a big circle, defend.
That's what
it's just
the Avengers. That's what we've all come to know and love about the Avengers.
Stand on the
plate.
The next wave comes in.
Stand on the plate and then beat the wave of enemies, and then go and move and stand on the other plate.
But there's so many of repeats of those levels.
Yeah.
But with different.
Yeah, that's That's definitely a symptom of you know, live service games where they just need to have this kind of repeatable content. But you know, Destiny had that problem, Division had that problem,
Yeah.
and you can still argue that they still do, but they've also had years of iteration and ways to fix that. Whereas to have this come out and still have those kinds of problems that they should have been able to see from these other previous games is kind of crappy. Like, why do these games have to come? These live service games have to come out and all start at the same kind of troubled spot? Like, why don't they
Mm.
look at the previous games that they're trying to obviously copy and make sure there's enough content there, enough variety that um, they don't have the same criticisms levied against them just over and over and over again.
I think that there's an argument I could make that if it was just the live service part of the game, I wouldn't be as so down on it as I was. But when you pair it with something that's really well designed and set pieced, and it really stands out so much more that it feels
Yeah,
like just a reshuffle, and it's just incredibly disappointing.
yeah. Um,
Everything was so shoehorned in.
so the what is the actual combat here? Is it just like um, beat 'em up kind of stuff? Is there more depth to it than that?
No, there's not that much depth. It's kind of you
It's
got your two or three. There's depth within the kind of the upgrade tree, but generally it's kind of your counters, your blocks, your superpowers. Iron
Hmm.
Man's got quite a bit of depth to him, I suppose, because he can swap out different weapon sets that the others don't have.
Hmm.
So you've got lasers, rockets, and like palm beams and stuff like that. So you get to juggle those within your gameplay, which is quite nice. The others aren't as advanced as that.
Hmm.
Hulk is just Hulk. That's a problem with the game as well, especially when you get to the live thing. Because the game has to be balanced, it's very strange that you kind of take the same damage from like grunt enemies that Black Widow does, and you shouldn't be able to. You kind of there's a weird lightness to everything. Hulk
Hmm.
doesn't feel as heavy as he should because he needs to kind of have the same pace as everybody else.
Yeah.
So nobody feels left out when you play it. So there's a distance when you play it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's generally if you've ever played singular games of these characters, if you've ever played a Hulk game, if you've ever played Ultimate Destruction, if you've ever played kind of Captain America Super Soldier, if you've ever played the Iron Man games that Sega did, it's all of those things mashed together with
Hmm.
a skill tree bolted onto the back of it. So it's everything you know. It's everything. It's done relatively well, but it's everything you've already played before. There's no new innovations into playing it. It's
Yeah.
kind of if you played a superhero action game for the last couple of generations, you've played this game, and
Hmm.
it does do it satisfyingly enough, but it does lack weight. I think
Yeah.
even Thor, when he's got a hammer, lacks weight.
Derek, you mentioned that they've been running some patches. What kind of improvements or changes have you seen with those?
they've had there's been a bunch of improvements on bugs and glitches that people have been running into. That's been the main thing. Some performance stuff.
Mhm.
I haven't loaded in recently, but I know one of the patches they put out fixed. I think it was somewhere up to around 1,000 issues that were found.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So they've really been hammering through listening to the community and taking feedback like that, which is good for live service games. Because that part of the relationship on how the game goes can make or break the game. And like we said, it doesn't have a bad foundation. It just could be better.
Yeah.
And it'll see the next thing is going to be all right, what are they gonna? We know we got new characters coming, but what are the set pieces that are going to come to? What are the DLC areas, or what end game content are they going to bring to us? I think that's needs to be their next looking point to be able to keep this game going.
Um. What was that?
We'll see if it will. I'm not sure it's got enough within its expansion to keep it going, apart from people popping it when a new character pops up.
Yeah, and
I'm
by
sure
the
that we'll
sounds
have
of
another
it, it doesn't
spike when
seem
Spider-Man
like,
turns up.
a new character is going to bring a whole lot to the table if they all kind of feel a little bit samey.
If they could add like their own little mini mission, kind of set piece, like mini story mode, that would be cool. But they're just going to be put into the
Yeah, I guess that's what I guess.
multiplayer mode.
Yeah, if like they introduce a new character, is it going to be story content or is it just going to be?
Sure.
Because I think that seems like, it's not perfect, but it seems like Leigh was saying, the set piece moments are kind of the better parts of the game. But if there are no more of those,
Yeah, because like what they call like the hero missions are just like regular ass side missions, but you're forced to play as a character because it deals with something they would deal with, or personality wise they would like. For Hulk, you go into like a biolab that's making abominations, and you kind of deal with one of those labs, and that's his mission. But like at the same time, going through the story during regular stuff, you deal with that type of stuff too.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess probably sounds like what they should focus on is like fleshing out those repeatable live areas to kind of add a little bit more to them, make them a little bit more interesting, and maybe work on, more variety of kind of side quests that you can do, that aren't just go stand on this pad and fight off waves of enemies. A little bit more interesting than that. But I guess like how can you make that though? Like make that feel real if like you're like, isn't the idea of being in the Avengers that eventually everything gets saved and everyone's back to normal? So how can you keep going back into a destroyed city and
yeah.
It's like eventually it's like, well, looks like we're not gonna finish cleaning everything up, huh? It's just we're gonna keep doing this, and oh, look, a chest.
Well, that's where the two visions. I think we can definitely call it two visions. I'm pretty sure. If we're honest, I don't think if Crystal Dynamics had their druthers, I don't think they probably would have made a live service game. They probably would have made a story mode.
Yeah, and I mean that's what they do, right? That's what Crystal Dynamics does. They make story-based games. It sounds like they did what they could with the systems they had, but those systems also had to be put into a live service game that was obviously mandated either by Square itself or Marvel at large to be like, well, this game needs to make a lot of money for a long time, so you better.
Yeah, but Ultimate Alliance didn't do that. That stayed focused to what it was.
Yeah, but
I definitely probably Crystal Dynamics. It was probably a Square Enix thing, I would have said. But this is where it mostly bumps heads. So you've played your story mode, and you know what Tony Stark is a billionaire genius. So he finally gets brought back into the fold, and you go back to your base, kind of your shield base that you're in. And after you've established it is back, and you get to go and look at the hub computer to decide what you're going to do. I was like, oh, by the way, there's a shop that's opened up. Go to the shop. What am I going to go to a shop for? This is after I've just been to a mission to capture a fabricator so I can make my own suit parts again and make. So it's kind of a story way of saying this is how you get the parts to all of your costumes and your weapons and stuff. So I've got that back, and then they said go to the shop, and then the shop explains to me that I have to go to do missions as Tony Stark, a billionaire, to earn credits to come back to the shop to buy pieces of armor and uniform and emote. And it's like, why, as a story-based thing, why am I going off doing missions? Why is a shield grunt telling me I need to go and purchase something that I could make on the machine I've just stolen? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense whatsoever? Or am I just too frustrated? I'm just making noise.
No,
But
I mean,
yeah,
obviously it
it
doesn't make any sense. And that's
no,
why
just
they don't.
smacks into it. It's like, yeah, here we come.
Yeah, the
live
two
service.
things don't line up.
No.
And like, I think maybe if they had like completely separated them, like not had that stuff bleeded, like you had your campaign and then you had your completely separate live service, maybe that would have been a little bit different. I don't know. But like,
it's
you know,
all the
that's
stuff
how
you
that's
don't
how all
wanna
these
see
other
as
live
well.
service games do it. They combine everything together, and
It's all the stuff you don't want to see as well. It's like, this suit of armor is only here for 40 minutes. It's only here for a couple of hours. Only here for a day. You better grind for that. If not, you can go and buy it with real money.
yeah,
And it's like, it instantly hits it, and it all like hits you at once. It's kind of, so it's not there when you start the game, but it's in there about 3 hours in. It's like, bang, it's your shop. It's like, whoa,
yeah,
okay. If you was honest, you would have put that at the beginning, but no, or put that in a menu or something. But no, it's part of the structure of the story. It's like, no, get lost. So, messy.
yeah, it's a little frustrating. But I guess we'll see where it goes, like we do, like we always say with all these things. See what they do with it. Yeah. Is there anything else anyone wants to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, they better not do this to Gotham Knights. That's all I'm going to say. If I see that they've done the same thing, people must be learning lessons not to do this, because it's not been very It has been received pretty well, but not as well as I think anybody hoped it had been.
Yeah.
I think everybody's been like very, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have been very nonplussed by something that, I don't know. So I just hope we don't do this again anytime soon. So I was massively disappointed by it. Massively disappointed. After an initial burst of this seems great, and it's like, it's just, it's just a small part of the great bits. Are just a small part of a big mess.
Derek?
It was solid. It's just we need to see where it's gonna go from here. If they're gonna be able to maintain and keep it up, or if it's just gonna die out once the hype of it's over.
Maybe.
All right. Yeah.
We'll
So that's Marvel's Avengers. That's out on PC, PS4, Xbox. You can get it now if you want to, or wait and see if it gets a little bit more ship shape. Anyway, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to see more. Check out voxelvoice.com for all of our great content, and consider supporting us on Patreon to keep our content ad-free and independent.